Today we continue to look at upgrading each of the precons from Battle for Baldur's Gate. I've done upgrade videos on the other 3 commander decks, which makes today's the last one. As I'm sure you guessed from the title, this video was on the new Dimir deck, Flayarrrs. If you want to know when those new commander videos post, be sure to click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of all new videos coming out. Now this series of videos has all been $50 upgrades, give or take, which means that you can pick up the precon at your local game store for $50, then spend another $50 on singles and have yourself a fun and interactive deck. I understand that not everyone has access to a local game store and has to rely on Amazon to order their sealed products. If that sounds like you, please make use of my affiliate link below. It really does help the channel. With that out of the way, let's take a look at Flayarrrs. Flayarrrs is a mean and nasty deck, and I'm a big fan of what this deck is trying to accomplish. Flayarrrs is an aggressive horror tribal deck with a mill sub-theme, combined with a theft sub-theme. Rather than just milling your opponents out, a strategy that is rather difficult in Commander, we're putting our opponents' libraries into their graveyards and then stealing stuff out of those graveyards. But before we look at making additions to the deck, we should figure out what we're cutting. In order to do that, we should compare the list against our checklist. My checklist consists of the following: 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, though this can vary based on the average mana value and a variety of other factors. 10 pieces of card advantage. These are cards that net you cards or allow you to dig for answers or even return cards from the graveyard to your hand or battlefield. This can also mean tutors or consistent scry effects, but not cantrips that only draw you a single card. 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal. It doesn't just have to be spot removal, it can remove more than one threat but isn't really a board wipe. I also include stacks, effects, and counterspells in this category, but I don't believe in going for nothing but stacks and counter magic. 2 to 3 board wipes. Some decks you want more, some less. But with every deck, you sometimes find yourself falling behind and need to hit the reset button. But if we can manage board wipes that leave our stuff alone, all the better. 2 pieces of graveyard hate. This may get skipped here. There are a lot of decks that rely on their graveyard and use it as a resource, and this deck is one of them. Oftentimes, you want spells or effects that can remove a couple of key cards, exile all graveyards, or shuffle them back into your opponent's library. But in our case, Graveyard Hate works against us. 1 Sudden I Win card. This is more of a flavor card than anything else. Yes, you can combo off and win the game with this card, but it's not always necessary. I will sometimes build decks with multiple win cons, while others are more grind fests. It really depends on what kind of deck I'm building, but it's important to keep this slot in mind. So, keeping that checklist in mind, let's take a look at Flayarrrs. 48 mana sources split between 38 lands and 10 pieces of ramp. We'll need to make some upgrades here. 9 pieces of card advantage, so we'll want a bit more. 4 board wipes, and one of them is very expensive. 13 pieces of interaction. 2 pieces of graveyard hate, but they both let you steal stuff from your opponents, so that's fine. No sudden I win cards. So let's look at some upgrades for our deck. First of all, our board wipes. Plague Spitter is on theme and doesn't really hurt us too much, so it's fine. Crippling Fear is amazing in a tribal deck, but the other 2, Hex and In Garruk's Wake? Hex is downright bad, and In Garruk's Wake is way too expensive in a deck with this little mana acceleration. So we'll be swapping Hex for Negate and In Garruk's Wake for Toxrill, the Corrosive. Psychosis Crawler is a great card in a deck focused on drawing a ton of cards, but most of our card advantage stems from stealing cards from our opponents. So we'll be swapping it for Arvinox the Mind Flail. Hunted Horror is a great magic card, but this deck is focused around taking things, not giving them away, so we'll replace it with Read the Bones. Duskmingler has too high of a mana value for its effect, so we'll be replacing it with Teferi's Ageless Insight. Finally, the area we need to work most on, mana. To start, we're cutting Dark Hatchling, a card that is way too expensive for a deck that has no flicker effects, for Chromatic Lantern. Next up, Dauthi Horror gets replaced with Sky Diamond, while River of Tears gets swapped out for Charcoal Diamond. Temple of the False God gets swapped out for Drowned Catacomb, Dimir Aqueduct becomes Morphic Pool, and Creeping Tar Pits gets swapped for Shipwreck Marsh. So let's take a look at our upgraded deck and see how it checks out. 50 mana sources, right where we want to be. 11 sources of card advantage, 14 pieces of interaction, 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, no sudden I win cards, but that's okay. We can just steal our opponents instead. So we did a good job at increasing the deck's power level, and I'm excited to see what this deck can do. Let me know what you think. Please leave a comment below, especially if you're as excited as I am to give this deck a shot. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, there's a link to her Fiverr page below. Please like and subscribe for more Commander content, or you can click here for more deck tech videos. I've also started a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Danon or click the link in the description below. Again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.